Guys, 2020 has been a mad, absolute nightmare year for me in property. There's no real other way to put it. If you saw some of my earlier videos in June and July, you would have seen some real-time stories of the issues I was going through at the time with mortgage lenders and valuers on a particular project I was looking at in Liverpool. Guys, this was just a fraction of the issues, the hurdles, the hoops that I've had to jump through this year. And I actually stopped making videos so that I could go through the process because there was a lot more BS coming. And it was way too much for me to keep making ad hoc videos. So I thought, let me go through the process and actually make a full video on it so I can really summarize everything. And there's a lot, guys, so I'm going to have to split this into two parts. And today I'm going to be completely transparent with you. I'm going to share everything that's gone wrong. Most importantly, I'm going to share my lessons learned with you. Really, you only learn through going through these situations and through the process. I'm going to share it with you guys today. And my hope is that you become educated property investors so you can navigate scenarios like these like pros if or when you encounter them. So here's a timeline of everything that happened to me this year, guys. I've traveled all over the UK this year. I've racked up some serious mileage, as you can see. I've gone to a lot of cities. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to timestamp this video into chapters along these lines so that I can actually document what I went through with each project in each place. So first of all, let's start with Doncaster, guys. So 2020 dropped, okay? It was a brand new year. Do you remember those times before Coronas where we were still allowed to go outside and we were saying, right, 2020 is going to be my year, right? And I personally had plans to start with a new investment in a brand new location. I was looking to expand. I'd set my sights on Doncaster. I'd heard a lot of good things about it and I traveled up there to get this next step of my property journey rolling. It was a happy time, it was a simpler time. So I arrived in Doncaster and I had two viewings scheduled for that day in two different parts of the town. One in a place called Hexthorpe and one in a place that was literally 5 minutes walk from the station, so it was a bit closer. Now, I don't want to speak out of turn, but Hexthorpe is a rough neck of the woods, guys. I don't know if anyone watching this is from Doncaster, or do any of you know anyone from there? Let me know in the comment section below if you've lived there, if you're from there. But yeah, the difference between Hexthorpe and the property near the station was night and day, guys. I can't lie. The Hexthorpe one was, well, let me show you some pictures of the viewing. You can look through these, guys. As you can see, it was what it was. And the surrounding area matched these pictures, guys. I'm not going to lie. So lesson to you all, do some research before you show up and you go to a place. Unless you get caught slipping somewhere you don't know. I'm not saying it was dangerous, guys, but it's good to get to know a location a bit before you go there so you know what to expect. So anyway, the first viewing was relative success, albeit a bit of a ropey success. I saw the property, but it wasn't quite for me, guys, based on the pictures that you've just seen. No shade, no tea, but it was what it was. Second viewing wasn't so successful. We turn up to the property. Looks great from the outside. Lovely, clean, leafy road. It's a 2-bed, red brick terrace property. It's looking really tidy from the outside. I'm thinking, yeah, this is nice. And after the Hexthorpe one, I'm thinking, okay, I'm looking forward to this viewing because this looks a lot better. Now, the agent rings a bell, 5 seconds, 10 seconds. People kind of, they take time to get to the door. 30 seconds, a minute. No one's there, guys. Not necessarily the agent's fault, but the tenant hasn't bothered to show up to let us in for the viewing. And they're not answering any calls either. So we stand around for a while, we knock on a window, we look through the window, and there's no one there. There's no one coming. The tenant hasn't come. So it's looking like we're not going to be able to view the property from the inside because we can't get in. So we walked around the back, guys, and the back garden was actually open. So we went into the garden. We didn't try and get into the house because obviously that's like breaking and entering. But we go into the garden and it's quite a lengthy garden. Got like, there's a shed out there, green area, and you can see into the kitchen right through to the living room. So kind of able to have a viewing from the outside of the bottom floor only. But I liked what I saw. I'm not even going to lie, guys. I like what I saw, but it was a bit of a drama because imagine if that was the only viewing that I had. First lesson, guys, book your viewings and schedule more than one during a visit, especially if you're traveling far, because tenants sometimes don't show up right, when they're supposed to for a viewing. And when you think about it, I can see sometimes why they might want to be difficult, because if you're a tenant in a house and you might not necessarily want to be moving out, but your landlord who owns the house is selling the house and you're going to have to move out and find somewhere new, you know, you might not necessarily bend over backwards to accommodate viewings after viewings after viewings. But, you know, at the end of the day, the guy's selling his house, you should have been there. It is what it is. But yeah, guys, block book your viewings, because if I'd been in a position where that was my only viewing and I'd driven up north all the way, 3-4 hours to Doncaster, I get there and nobody's there, and that was my only viewing for the day, guys, I would have been vexed, all right? So block book your viewings, have more than one, just so that if one falls away, you've still got others to go on. So anyway, fast forward to the next day, I made an offer, guys. I spoke to the agent, and based on what I saw, okay, I said, okay, let me make an offer. I could always come back and view it again. The property was listed for between 60 to 70k. So I offered 66k, which was just over in between, right? And that was accepted. So the next step for me was to line up my solicitor and my broker. This is where the drama really began, guys. When you view a house and you agree an offer with the vendor, the next step is to secure a formal mortgage offer with a lender. Now, your lender will ask you for like proof of your deposit, proof of employment, proof of earnings, of bank statements, a copy of your contract, your passport, etc. And based on that, they'll either agree to lend, they'll decline to lend, or they'll adjust the amount that they're willing to lend you. But what I learned was, it doesn't just stop there, guys. Even if a lender gives you an offer for a mortgage at the level that you want, the lender then sends a valuer to verify that the house is worth what it's worth, okay? So I mentioned that the offer that I put forward and was accepted was 66k. The vendor agreed, and so did the mortgage lender, so that was a tick. But the lender's valuer went out to the property and they decided that it wasn't worth £66,000, guys. Actually, they decided that it was worth £60,000. And I read the valuation report, and the down valuation of £6,000 was due to quite a few structural issues that they saw with the property. And this was the first time I've ever had a down valuation. So I was a bit surprised by it, but you know, apparently, or as I've seen, it's not rare, guys. And this is the first undervaluation of the year. There's more to come. So I was now in a position where I now had to magically find £6,000 out of nowhere. I don't have that laying down the back of my sofa, guys. I don't know about you. So I decided to negotiate. And again, this is not the first time you're going to see me negotiating in these series of videos, guys. So I could have either pulled out and said, hey, look, it's not worth 66. I'm only going to pay 60 because that's what it's worth according to a professional valuer, or just pulled out altogether. So I actually went back to the selling agent and I said, I'll meet them halfway. I'll pay £63,000, but the seller was not willing to drop below £64,000. They were playing hardball. And as I just said, even though the valuer, the professional valuer, has said it's worth only 60k, I still would have paid £3,000 more than it was worth. They knew this, but they had their own thoughts of what the property was worth. And I wasn't willing, but they wanted to haggle over £1,000, guys. Could I have paid £1,000 more? Yes. But was the property such a must-have property that I was willing to pay £4,000 over its valuation? Absolutely not, guys. So I walked away. And I guess that's the second lesson learned, guys. Don't be afraid to walk away from a deal, guys. I can't stress this enough, and I learned this a few times this year. If you're not getting a mutually beneficial, fair deal, if it doesn't feel right, if it's overpriced, you've got to be able to walk away, guys. The sooner you take your emotions out of this game, the better off you'll be, trust me, okay? So that was Doncaster, guys. And then in parallel to that, all of that stuff, I get an email from my property agents in relation to a property that I already own in Liverpool. Now, I'd agreed to let my tenant in that property use it under what we call a rent-to-rent agreement. Now, that's another video for another day, but essentially what that means is that the tenant was paying me a guaranteed rent every month and then using the apartment that I owned to sublet it for serviced accommodation, like Airbnb basically. And I had no problem with this, guys, and neither did the freeholder at the time. And the arrangement was set up and things were going fairly smoothly, well, absolutely smoothly. The issue was that the freeholder had since changed. It was another company that took over the freehold, and they weren't having none of it, guys. They came in and said no more subletting, only regular, normal, short hold tenancies are allowed. The type of tenancy that you get when you want to rent a house and live there. So my tenant chose to end their tenancy because that arrangement didn't work for them. Tenants come and go all the time. It's part of being a landlord. I agree to that. I'll find a new one. No problem. Cue the nightmare scenario. I get the inventory report, which is basically a report of the state of the flat when the tenancy leaves. And I see from the report that the tenant has done all sorts to the flat, guys. There's damage and marks to the living room wall that need to be repainted. They've taken a TV stand. They've taken a table from the living room. They've taken a side table from the bedroom. They've damaged the kitchen walls. They've even taken buttons from the oven, guys, random, and the keys to the windows. And on top of all that, guys, they haven't paid rent for their last month. Now, I'm a Christian and I consider myself to be a decent person that always tries to see the best in people, but these are the worst type of people, guys. But yeah, that's what tenants can do to a flat, guys. Anyway, the total cost of all of this was £1,200, including the unpaid rent. And we only had £825 of deposit. So that gave a shortfall of £375. Now, I don't want to bore you with all of the details, but suffice to say that they did not pay, and I personally had to cover these costs myself. So I paid the difference for all of the repairs, the damage, the stolen items, and I found new tenants, guys. Again, I won't bore you with all the details, but in parallel to that, we were writing to them. We were trying to get them to pay for the damage that they did and the rent that they didn't pay. And we were going back and forth. We complained to the council. We even looked at doing a small claims court claim, but it just wasn't cost effective, guys. So I paid the money, fixed up the flat, and it's now relet. Next lesson, guys, sometimes you just get bad tenants, yeah? You can't do a lot about that. However, if I could do anything differently, I think what I would do next time is to get the name of the prospective tenant from the agent who's handling the whole tenant find and all that process, and do a search for them, guys. Try and find them on Facebook, on LinkedIn. If it's a corporate client, look on Companies House. Just do a little bit extra due diligence. And if you see anything that you don't like, just intervene, guys. If it rubs you up the wrong way or you got a feeling in your gut like, nah, this isn't for me, guys, go with your gut, because you can't protect yourself enough, okay? So that's Doncaster and Liverpool done. I'm back to square one. It's like when you hit that long snake in Snakes and Ladders, when you're like up by the top and you come all the way down to the bottom row and you're right at the beginning again. So I've now switched my focus to Crewe, guys. I know that Crewe is a very well-connected city. It's connected well to, like, you know, your Liverpools, your Manchesters, and those surrounding areas. It's very well connected. There's a lot of businesses there, guys. So I said, okay, let me look at Crewe. So we're now in February, and I take my own advice from the first lesson to block book viewing. So I've got 2 in the diary, and I'm looking to jump on a train the next morning, early days, to get to Crewe at 10:30 to see these 2 viewings. Okay, so I get an email at 5:30 p.m. the day before to say that one of the bookings is going to be cancelled for the next morning because an offer is coming on the property at 5:30 p.m, guys. Great that I've block booked, because imagine, as I said, if that was my only booking for the day, I'd now be down £90+ for my pre-booked train ticket from London to Crewe and no viewings to show for it. I was a bit annoyed, I'm not going to lie, but the other booking actually cushioned the blow a bit because I had something else to view up there. So lesson learned, guys. If you've got a viewing booked, email them the afternoon before to confirm the booking for the next day, guys, because now and again, you'll get an agent that just lets you down less than 18 hours beforehand, or, you know, an offer comes in magically less than 18 hours before you're supposed to see it, right? Anyways, the one I saw, I wasn't really feeling it, guys. It was in a more rundown area of Crewe. It needed quite a lot of work done to it. The stairs were in a weird place. The bathroom was at the end of a bedroom, which was weird. So suffice to say, I declined to offer on that one, and I continued my search back to square one, guys. Next up on my UK tour was Liverpool. So we're now in March. I've just had Doncaster and Crewe fall away. I'm asking myself, is this actually a sign from God? to just leave it for this year and go about and focus on different things. I had a decision to make. I'd spent almost £200, guys, in travel from here to Doncaster and Crewe on those various trips, and then another £250 in valuation fees, only to have the property down valued and not be able to get the seller to play ball and come down on their price. Not to mention the time and the energy that I've devoted to these two viewings, guys. So I had a decision to make. But I'm not a quitter, okay? Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, feeling a bit demoralized by the last two prospects, but I'm not a quitter, guys, which leads me to my fourth lesson learned for this year, which is to keep calm and keep on, guys. Don't be quitting at the first few hurdles, whatever those may be, okay? I've learned firsthand this year, professionals will let you down sometimes, deals will fall through no fault of your own. Potential deals that you were excited about might turn out to actually be kind of dud, kind of waste. But you got to take it in your stride, guys. Keep calm, keep on, don't get demoralized, okay? So anyway, I get a call from an agent whom I'd worked with on a deal a few years prior. He was based in Liverpool, and he asked me if I was on the lookout for a deal then and there. And he told me about a development that was going on in a great area of Liverpool that I might be interested in. This came at exactly the right time, guys. I had two deals fall through, as you know, so I was receptive to this. So gassed up the car, drove up to Liverpool a few days later to go see this development. Not gonna lie, it was pretty exciting, guys. Not only do I love going on these road trips to different cities to view properties, I really do enjoy that. I just like getting out of London and seeing another part of the UK and seeing properties. But it makes it that much more sweeter when it's a good project. And this one was a good one, guys. It was an old office block conversion to 90 plus luxury units in the centre of Liverpool, less than 10 minutes from the business district. This here's the centre of Liverpool. We've got like huge museum there, a kind of town, I don't know, some kind of monument there. Right there is the city centre, or shopping centre, one of the shopping centres where all the buses go in. And then there's a building right there, you see Excelsior, it's a pub. Just behind that, in front of that, is the building where they're building the flats, 109 units. Really good location, really central, near to the business district, near to all the bars, really good. So when I viewed it, the offices had been fully gutted and they were in the process of fitting out those living units. So at this stage, they're about 50% done on the mezzanine and the first floors, with further construction to do on the floors above and also to replace the exterior, right? So I was sold. Perfect location, perfect spec, very good price. I was in. So that was me finally there with the deal that I've been looking for 2020, made an offer at the asking price, which was of course accepted. I could now instruct my solicitor and my broker to get the ball rolling, and that would be me good for the year, guys.
Wrong.
So the valuer declines to lend. We're 4 months away from exchange, and now I don't have a mortgage. I'm thinking, who up there have I displeased? Because surely this many things can't go wrong in the space of a year. Not even a full year, half a year, guys. I mean, I was dumbfounded. So I walk away, I tell the developer that I can't do it, and now that's done. That's the third collapse of the year. And next up, I'm going to Nottingham instead on the next stop of our UK tour. Join me next week for part 2 of this video, where you're going to see how all of the drama that happened from Jan to March wasn't a patch, was not a patch, trust me, guys, and what happened over the next 6 months. We're going to see how things really fell off a cliff from there onwards. I'm not lying, guys. Join me next week. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you then.